For optimal functionality of a microprocessor-controlled knee joint, it is important to enter the correct dimensions of the prosthesis in the Basic Data section of the connectgo.pro app. In this tutorial, you will learn how to shorten the tube adapter, determine the dimensions, and measure the effective heel height. First, assemble the foot and the tube adapter. Insert the tube adapter into the knee joint, up to the maximum insertion depth of 70 millimeters. Next, measure the length from the middle of the knee axis to the bottom of the heel. Subtract the user-specific knee axis to ground measurement to determine the difference that needs to be cut off from the axon tube. Then mark the cut line on the tube adapter. We recommend using a tube cutter instead of a metal saw to shorten the tube without damaging the cable. Once the tube is shortened, stow the cable into the tube and remove any burrs. Protect the cable plug with the blue cap to prevent contamination from metal shavings. For very short tube lengths, disconnect the cable extension and stow the cable in the tube adapter as shown. Chamfer the outer edge with a file, and use a deburring tool to smooth out the edge on the inside. Finish by smoothing the edges with sandpaper, and ensure that any metal flakes and sawdust are removed before connecting the tube adapter to the knee joint. Finally, torque the screws of the tube clamp to 7 Newton meters. Now, check the distance from the knee axis to the bottom of the heel. And measure the distance from the knee axis to the black ring. Enter both measurements into the connectgo.pro app. Most shoes have a thicker sole at the heel than at the forefoot. This difference in thickness, known as the effective heel height, must be considered when aligning the prosthesis. We recommend using a heel height gauge to measure the sole thickness. Measure and note the heel's sole thickness using the shorter part of the gauge. Always measure at the thickest point of the sole when shoes with deep sole profiles are used. Insert the longer part into the shoe to measure the sole thickness of the forefoot and note the value. To calculate the effective heel height, subtract the value of the forefoot thickness from the value of the heel thickness. Finally, enter the result in the connectgo.pro app.